Hello everyone, how's it going? Now, what people don't tend to take seriously enough is the effort required to recover from OCD. And quite often, you've got to ask yourself, how serious am I taking this? Sometimes it just boils down to how much you want to get better. And that is shown in how you cut compulsions, how you read the books on our reading list, whether you're half-heartedly reading them or whether you're fully committed, how often you attend one-to-one coaching calls, if you're in for calls with us, how serious you're taking it. Because when you really look at this, you can see it in the compulsions that one keeps giving into. Now, by no means, please don't think that I am saying that this is easy, that cutting compulsions is some easy task that can be done overnight. I am a hardened OCD sufferer myself. I have been to rock bottom with OCD. As you know, anyone that's followed my journey, anyone that's working with me, anyone that's seen my videos on the channel, anybody that's heard me speak on webinars, when I cover the in-depth details of my journey, that I certainly haven't had it easy, and nobody here on this channel, no coach here has had it easy, because we wouldn't be a coach, we wouldn't know the ins and outs of OCD, we wouldn't know how it feels to be at rock bottom with OCD. So, going back to the point of how serious that you're taking it, it's not a matter of fact where it's easy to cut compulsions, it's more of how serious you're being with this. Because I often say to people that when you're working something out, right? Let's say a huge mental compulsion that you've got is working things out, constantly trying to figure something out, constantly replaying things, constantly engaging with rumination to figure out what happened, especially with relevant false memory OCD, for example, something that I struggled with significantly. So let's say every time that OCD pulls you in, you are engaging with it. You are jumping in to the fire to work it out. You are desperate. You are eager to figure it out. Well, I'm sorry, but that just is going to boil down to you having to resist that urge to work it out. Yes, the belief work is crucial. You're going to have to break down worst case scenario. You're going to have to look to apply self-acceptance, self-compassion, even if the worst case was true. You're going to have to look to bring down the catastrophic thinking which keeps pulling you into working it out. But ultimately, and this is the key, in the moment when you're getting pulled in, when OCD is pulling you in, it's towing you in, hey, work this one out. Hey, you need to figure this one out. If you keep going back to that, if you keep jumping in to work it out and falling for its tricks again, then it's down to you to give that up, okay? It's not simple that can just be stopped like that. You've got to have an understanding of what's going on. You've got to see how it's pulling you in. You've got to look at, right, okay, there's the fears there. These are the fears I need to break down. That comes with time. That's a time and patience thing. That's a perseverance thing with the tools and the belief work, okay? But if you keep jumping in to the fire to figure out this thing that happened, to figure out what this means, to figure out whether it's real, to work out whether it happened or not, that's you actively engaging with that. And all that's doing is pouring fuel on a fire. All that's doing is keeping you trapped into the compulsive cycle, okay? You've got to do whatever it takes to not work this out. You have got to have the mindset, and I developed this kind of mindset. It can be quite extreme. It can seem like, whoa, I didn't need to go that far. But you're dealing with such a serious mental health disorder here. You're going to have to say, I would rather drop dead than work this thing out. That's what I had to say to myself. Rather than work this thing out, whether it was a thought that the night before, whether it was something that happened 5 years ago, whatever it was, whatever OCD was latched to, I was saying to myself, I would rather drop dead than work this thing out. Because my life depended on this, right? I was losing my life. I was sacrificing my life to figuring it out. I was addicted to working it out, to getting certainty, to figure out on what happened. It was an addiction. I couldn't stop. As soon as I jumped in, that was it. I needed to know what happened. I needed to work it out. I was analysing from a very young age, something that I did from the ages of probably about 9 onwards. I remember analysing from a young age when I was a child at school, going into in-depth, replaying things, reviewing things. And obviously later on in life, I was then replaying things in the past, constantly going over in my head, right? So I had to get used to not jumping into the fire. And a lot of it happened automatically, okay? And it happened automatically because the fears are very high. The reason I'd wake up in the morning and OCD would pull me in is because I was still absolutely shit scared, right? I was absolutely petrified. I was absolutely terrified of these fears, right? But I had to break down these fears. I had to chip away at these beliefs, what you're learning in the books on our reading list, what you're learning in coaching calls, of how we need to keep chipping this away and keep breaking down our perspectives on this and changing our perspectives and shifting our beliefs. And then the pull and the urge to work it out comes down. But in the moment, if you're watching this video and it feels like you're ruminating 24/7, you're going to have to let the automatic rumination play out whilst the fears are being worked on, but you're going to have to stop engaging with the rumination. That's absolutely key, okay? OCD is a con artist. It's the best scammer of all time. It scams you, but you keep going back to it. It scammed you once before. It scammed you twice before. It scammed you 3 times before. It scammed you, and it will scam you for the rest of your life. Because every time you go back to it, it's, oh, let me just work this one out, then I can get relief. And I coach people, and this was me myself, I coach people that are so set on working this thing out. It's not just relevant false memory OCD. This can be anything. Because anytime it comes in, it's like, hey, you need to work this out. You need to figure this out. You need to make sure that you're not going to be stuck forever. You need to make sure that you're going to feel relief. You need to make sure that this is the one that's not going to be so overwhelming. You're going to need to make sure that you can cope with this one, right? So you're then immediately trying to work it out. And people come in and say, no, I feel like this one is different. This one's real. This one's the exception. This one requires working out. I say, hey, give it a go. See how it goes. Let me know whether you get an answer. And what tends to happen is this, that they may get some temporary relief. They may get some short-term comfort. They may get some certainty, but that certainty is just an illusion because OCD just moves the goalposts and then doubts that certainty, and then you start chasing your tail and you just go round in circles. So there's no such thing as a certainty. It's just an illusion of certainty. You don't actually attain any kind of certainty because OCD just finds something else, right? And I can say that for a fact. Anything in the past that I've tried to work out of OCD, even if I felt like I've achieved some kind of certainty and figured it out, OCD just switches up. It either hit me from a different angle, or it would find a completely different theme or different fear, and then I'd be working that one out. And then I'd go back to that one again, right? Because it had never actually provided long-term result. So the only way was resisting the urge to work it out, breaking down the fears as to why I was working it out. Why was I getting pulled in? Why was it so scary? Why was the urgency so high to figure it out? That is what I had to break down. And that was because I couldn't accept myself if whatever this thing had happened. I couldn't accept myself if it were true. I had no compassion for myself if I did something wrong in the past. Or I couldn't be at peace with not knowing. I had to know. I had to have certainty on this thing. So I had to change my relationship with uncertainty and move on and look to rebuild my life or look to carry on with my life no matter what had happened in the past. Because this getting stuck in the past just stems from thinking of, oh, if only this thing didn't happen, if only I could just work this out. I spent fucking years like that. Years. I talk so passionately about this because I spent years of my life trying to figure things out in the past. OCD scammed me. I was scammed by OCD because every time I went back to it, it never delivered on its promise. It would promise me, hey Sam, this time you'll be able to get relief. Just this time you'll be able to get an answer. No, one more time, Sam, please try and work out again, Sam, then you can get relief. And every time I would shake hands with it and go, okay, let's see. Let me try and work this out. Let me try and figure out, oh, I might have got relief. No, switched up, found something else. Oh shit, here we go again. And that was years, right? Yes, I'm relatively young now, but that torturous cycle went on probably from the ages of about 14 to up to about 21, 22 until I was at a full stage of recovery. Okay? Now, please, whenever you think about working it out, whenever you feel about figuring it out, say, I would rather drop dead than figure this thing out. I'm going to do whatever it takes to not work this thing out. Because otherwise, you're pulled in instantly. You're pulled in within seconds, right? You're gripped in again. You're back in the cycle, right? Because it's very crafty. It finds different ways of getting in. It's like, yeah, but what about this thing? What about that thing? What if you didn't know this thing, right? And before you know it, you're thinking, shit, this one is going to be the one that overwhelms me forever. This is going to be the one that I can't ever come back from. This is going to be the one that haunts me forever. Oh my God, I used to work this one out, otherwise my holiday's ruined. Otherwise my life is ruined. Shit. And before you know it, within seconds, you're back down the working it out path again, right? Look how many times you've tried to figure out in your head before. Look how many times you've tried to solve this before. It has never worked and it never will work. Okay, so change is required. You're going to have to go towards a different approach of breaking down worst case scenario. Even if this thing had happened, how can I look to accept myself unconditionally? Even if you've done something wrong, how you can look to condemn that action. Acceptance isn't agreement. You can regret something in the past, but it's how you move forward. Otherwise, you spend a life of rumination, working it out, trying to get certainty, and OCD just leading you along to a path to nowhere, a path to absolutely nowhere. Okay, so the ball is in your court. You've got to think, my choices are, I either work this out or I don't. You've got to look at the fears behind it, yes, but in that moment, it's either you jump into the fire to figure out, or you carry on and letting it play out, not getting pulled in each time. And it's hard. It is bloody hard. It will find a way to pull you in, and you will slip up at times, but just knowing that each time, nothing will be solved by you working it out. It's all an illusion. It's the biggest con artist of all time. It is the best scam artist ever. Please stop falling for OCD's tricks. It never, ever delivers on its promises. If you are interested in one-to-one coaching calls, please email phil@ocdrecovery.com. My name's Sam. You've got Rob here, the founder of OCD Recovery. You've got Momin, Gemma, Elliot and Nick all doing coaching calls. So please email Phil to get in touch. And if you have enjoyed this video, please leave a like. And we'll speak again. Bye-bye.